420 is, well, it's everywhere. It's on decals and stickers and hats and shirts and posters and websites and all kinds of stuff. Parents are starting to figure out that there's something with this 420 thing. The cops have kind of been hip to it for a long time. And there's a lot of varying stories about the origins of 420. And I'm just going to kind of touch on those for a while. Probably the most common myth is that 420 is a police code in California for marijuana smoking. Like, you know, we got a 420 in progress at the Cedardome and Hookah Lounge. And that's just plain inaccurate. 420 is not a police code for anything in LA. Anywhere, actually. And checks of criminal code suggest that the origin is neither California nor federal. For instance, the California Penal Code 420 defines a misdemeanor, the hindrance of use of public lands. Okay, that's really exciting. Another myth is there are approximately 420 active chemical compounds in marijuana. Not true, there's approximately 315 active chemicals in marijuana. And this number goes up and down depending on which plant is used. Another myth, April 20th is National Pot Smokers Day. I mean, it kind of is, unofficially. And that's just not true. Because it's Jack Harrow Day.
Yeah.
It is our national holiday. And when I'm president, I want to let you know that I will make that remark. Just kidding. The other thing is there's a myth that April 20th is Hitler's birthday. And it is Hitler's birthday. But that's not why we're celebrating it. You know? Adolf Hitler was a vegetarian, believe it or not. But I'm pretty sure that he did not smoke pot, man, or he probably would have treated some people real different. Nah, we don't need that, do you, man? He kind of fucked up the whole name Adolf, like, for the rest of eternity, didn't he? Or even Hitler is even worse, you know? So, you know, and the other myth is that April 20th is the date of the Columbine school shootings, and it's not a myth, but the term is already in use, so that's not why we're doing this. Sometimes you think that, like, the cops are spreading some of this stuff, you know? And another myth is that 420 is tea time for pot smokers in Holland. Tea time in Holland is actually 5:30 p.m. So, you know, what are you going to do? And so where did 420 come from? And I first heard the term 420 around, I think probably about 1990 or something like that. And it was kind of rolling around, you know, and people started kind of showing up at places. And then I started seeing it in High Times magazine. And all the credible sources for the origins of 420 point back to some brothers that lived in San Rafael, California in 1971. And they were stoners, and them and some friends of theirs had heard that there was an abandoned pot patch growing in the hills there in San Rafael, not far from the high school. And so what these brothers would do with their stoner friends is they would meet at a wall at their school at 4:20 every day. It took them just enough time to get home and get their stash and change their clothes and come back and meet at the wall. And they would get baked at the wall, and then they would go out and look for this phantom patch of marijuana. And they started calling themselves the Waldos because they would always smoke pot at this wall. And this is 1971, and they happened to be into the Grateful Dead. And the Grateful Dead, as you all know, is from the Bay Area. Somewhat stony band. And so these guys started going to Dead shows, and so 420 became their kind of code. First, it was just the time they smoked pot, but then it became their code for smoking pot. And it became like a verb, you know, it's 420. Started going to Dead shows, and they started meeting at 420 at the Dead shows to have a big circle and getting baked. And so they started getting baked with all their Dead friends at 420, and it became this kind of thing to do around the Dead crowd in the Bay Area. And everybody knows that the Grateful Dead crowd traveled with the Grateful Dead. And so pretty soon 420 was going across Europe and across North America and stuff. And essentially that is where 420 got started, the origins of 420. Now There's a huge 420 celebration in Denver every year. There's 420 celebrations like all over the place, all over the world. There's a humongous, there's a big march and a parade in Nimbin, Australia. Nimbin is, likes to call itself the 420 capital of the world. And they have a community, a whole town in Australia of stoners. Pretty cool. I'm not sure how they pull that off because Australia is not necessarily the most stony place for that kind of stuff. It's rumored that all the clocks at Pulp Fiction are on 420, the movie Pulp Fiction. I've seen a few of them. And I've noticed clocks on 420 and all kinds of stuff. You know, and then by the red door, that big clock by the red door, that place? 420 all the time in Seattle.
Now this is what I call medicine.
Yeah.